Hello guys, we're going to do today the Chapter 7 review problems that you have for homework. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through a couple of each type, and then I'll leave a few blanks so that you can also try some on your own. So, Chapter 7 starts with 7.1. It's solving a system of equations using the graphing method. So what you have to do with these, and it's going to be a little bit hard for me to show on the screen here, but you have to be really exact. So that means for number 1, if I zoom it in just a bit here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to break out your ruler and be super exact with your points. And what I'm going to do is, because it's going to be kind of hard to use a ruler on this screen, I'm just going to do many points on each line. So for number 1, I need to go up to y-intercept 8. So I'm looking at my y-axis. 8 would be right about here. So I'm going to be as exact as I can. And you guys make sure you use your ruler. And then if the slope is -1, what that means is the slope for the first equation is going to be -1 over 1. So from my y-intercept 8, I'm going to go down 1 and right 1. Alright, so there's a point. Then I'm going to go down 1, right 1 again. So I'm going to be super exact with mine since I can't really put a ruler on here. Okay, so hopefully that's enough points. If not, I can go back later and put some more in. Connect mine. Alright, mine's definitely not all that accurate. Hopefully yours is better than mine. Then if I go and I graph the second line, so if I do the second line, let's just say in red, has y-intercept -7, so right about here. And this time I have an up 4, right 1 slope. So from my -7, up 4, right 1. I'm going to do it again. Up 4, right 1. And then one more time maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. So even though I wasn't super accurate with my line, it's not the straightest thing in the world, when I connect my red dots, you can already see where these lines are going to meet. So once again, not the prettiest thing in the world, but the point where they meet is going to be the point 3, 5. So I'm going to write it as an ordered pair, x, y, 3, 5 would be the final answer. Okay, now let's look at number 2 here. If we look at number 2, what you're looking at is the same kind of idea. 2 equations, x and y, except this time it's not in the pretty form that we want. The pretty form that we want both of these equations to be in the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And neither one of them are there yet. So if I look at the first equation, x plus 2y equals 5, if I want to get it in slope-intercept form for the first equation, the first step would be to subtract the x over. So if I do that, I'm going to write 2y equals, and if I subtract the x, it would be -x now, plus 5. And then if I want to get the y all by itself, so it's in the right form, I need to cut everything in half, divide everything by 2. So now I'm looking and I get y equals -1/2 x plus, I'm going to call it 2.5 so I can be pretty accurate. Okay, so there's the first line. Then if I switch colors, so I have kind of a couple different colors on the screen here, and I'm looking at the second line, I want to get the second line also in slope-intercept form. So here we go. Subtract the 2x over, so I get 4y equals -2x plus 2. That's subtracting the 2x over. Divide everything through by 4. Definitely did not leave enough room here, but hopefully you guys are scrunching it in. And then I get y equals -1/2 x plus 1/2. Okay, now let's take a step back. We could jump in and graph these, and I will graph them so you guys have a little practice graphing. But if you look at these two lines, red and blue, and then you look at the slopes, you should notice that they have the exact same slope. And when lines have the same slope, we call them parallel lines. And if I'm asking you, when do two parallel lines meet, you should tell me never. So the answer to this one is going to be no solution. Now, on the test, what you're going to have to do for me is you actually are going to have to go in and graph these. So yes, the answer is no solution, but let's go ahead and graph them too for practice. All right, so let's go to the blue one. It's going to be 2.5. All right, here we go. Let's see how accurate I can be with this thing. 2.5 for the y-intercept, about there. And then down 1, right 2. So I'm about here. Okay. All right. I already know the answer is no solution, so I'm going to go ahead and just connect those 2 dots. And again, be as careful as I can. Okay. So there's the first line. Then if I switch colors, go to red again. Let's graph the red line. I'm going to go to y-intercept a half. Okay, so that's about here. Y-intercept a half. Then I'm going to go down 1, right 2 again, and take a look. Makes sense, right? Red line, parallel to blue line, even though these aren't the straightest. So when I'm writing my answer, I can write a couple different things. Some of you are really liking this cute little symbol, this little no solution symbol. That works. If you're not liking that, you can actually write out the words no solution. Okay, so now number 3. I'm going to leave that one for you guys to try on your own. All right, so we did 1 and 2 together. You guys try number 3 on your own. All right, we're going to move on to section 7.2. And once again, let me do a couple of these, and I'll leave the last one for you guys to try on your own. All right, for substitution, lots of steps. First step being get either x or y by itself. It does not matter which one. Choose the easiest route for you. Okay, so if I'm looking at numbers 4, 5, and 6 all together, I would say number 4, the first equation, y is already by itself, just leave it alone. Okay, don't have to do anything there. Number 5, I would say, okay, the first equation, getting x by itself, would be the easiest. All right, now looking at number 6, the second equation, y is already by itself, so let's leave that one alone too. Okay, so the first step, get x or y by itself, and then you're ready for the next step. All right, let's look at number 4 here. Once you decide x or y by itself, and you choose the one you want to do, so I'm looking at number 4 here, so y is already by itself in the first equation. So if that's the case, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the thing that y equals, in this case it's 3x, and I'm going to plug that 3x into the other equation for the y value. So then my next step that I write should have only x's in it. X plus 2 times 3x now equals negative 21. So I'm substituting. I'm substituting a 3x in for the y that I see there. Then I just kind of continue this on. All right. Whoops, not 27, excuse me. 21. Okay. And then I'm going to write 7x equals negative 21 divided by 7, x equals negative 3. Okay, so that's part of the final answer. Then what you have to make sure you remember to do when you're taking the test, once you get one letter, make sure you go and plug it back in. And again, pick the easiest spot. So I'm probably going to plug it in right there. So I'm going to say y equals 3 times negative 3. So y equals negative 9. And then I always, always, always want you to write the final answer as an ordered pair. Negative 3, negative 9. Because what that means is, if you were to graph both of those lines, then they would meet at a point. They'd meet at the point negative 3, negative 9. Okay, now let's move on to number 5. Now number 5 is going to be a little bit trickier because x is not by itself yet. So we do have to do a few steps before we can just substitute. So for number 5, we said that it would be easiest to get this first x by itself. So I'm going to subtract the 5y over. All right, hopefully you can see this purple marker here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this negative 5y minus 3 thing here, and I'm going to plug it back into the second equation, the other one, in for that x. Okay, so when I do that, now I'm going to write 3 times, instead of writing x, now I'm going to write negative 5y minus 3 minus 2y equals 8. Now I have all y's. That's the big goal here. All right, so negative 15y, I'm going to distribute through here. All right, here we go. Keep going. Maybe combine these puppies here. Add the 9 over here. Y is negative 1. Okay. Now, just like in number 4, we have to plug it back in. I'm going to take mine to this purple x equals negative 5y minus 3. And I'm going to write x equals negative 5. We just found out that y is negative 1 minus 3. So x equals 5 minus 3. X equals 2. And then once again, let's write that guy as an ordered pair. We're going to write it as 2, negative 1. There's my final answer. Okay, so now I'm going to leave number 6 for you guys to try on your own. So we did 2 solving by graphing, 2 solving by substitution, and you have one of each to try on your own. All right, so now Let's go over. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to look at sections 7.3 and 7.4 together. And the reason we're doing this is they're both solved by elimination. Now if you look at number 7, for instance, we have number 7, 8, and 9 here. Look at number 7. If you look at the 8x, 8x, you don't have to multiply anything, the equations by anything, excuse me. So it'd be actually better to go right to elimination for number 7. For numbers 8 and 9, however, you do need to do some multiplying. Number 8, maybe I'd say let's get rid of the x's. And then number 9, you have some fractions to deal with. So let's jump in. Let's go ahead and do number 8 together. And then I'll have you guys maybe try 7 and 9 on your own. So here we go with number 8. If I want to eliminate the x's, that means I need to get this 2x and this 5x to be the same number. In our case here, the least common multiple would be 10x. So that means the first one, let's multiply it by 5. The second one, let's multiply that, oh, my little red arrows getting in the way here, by, ooh, 2 red arrows, by, sorry, still getting the hang of this program, by negative 2. And if I do that, that's going to get me where I want to go. So here's what I get. On the first equation, I would get 10x minus 15y equals 10. On the second equation, negative 10x minus 8y equals negative 56. And then I'm going to go through and add the 2 equations together. And when I do that, I'm going to get negative 23y, oh boy, some big numbers here, equals negative 46. And then I divide by negative 23, and I get y equals. So what we get here is y equals 2. Alright, and then with everything else, we got to make sure we take it and plug it back in. I would say probably in the first equation, the numbers are a bit smaller, aren't they? So I'm going to write 2x minus 3. Instead of y, I'm going to write a 2 now, equals 2. Okay, and then I'm going to keep working out, continue working. 2x minus 6 equals 2. 2x equals 8. X equals 4. Alright, so my final answer as an ordered pair would be 4, 2. Alright? Okay, so there's number 8 worked out. I'll have you guys try 7 and 9 on your own there. Okay, the last section here is 7.5, Systems of Inequalities, and you can see my little red arrows just won't go away, so I'm just going to deal with them here. So let's do number 10 together, and then I'm going to have you guys try 11 and 12 on your own. So number 10, the first equation has y-intercept 3, so I'm going to go up to 3, and again, these don't have to be super accurate, these are the shading ones. And then the slope of the first one is going to be negative 1 over 1. So down 1, right 1. There we go. Now, this guy's going to be a solid line because it's less than or equal to. When it has that equal to in it, get the solid line. And then if you remember, if it's a less than, that's going to be below the line. So there's the below the line part. Then I'm going to go through. Let's do the second one in red here. Y-intercept 3 again, so it's right on top of there. This time the slope is positive 1 over 1. So up 1, right 1. And again, a solid line for this one. This one is also going to be below the red. And then what I want to make sure you guys do on the test for me, if you could please go back over the shading and make sure it's really, really dark for your final answer. So that little black shaded area in there would be the final. Okay, so that's a wrap up of Chapter 7. Anything we didn't do here in this presentation, make sure you finish those up so I can help you answer those questions in class tomorrow. All right, thanks guys.